Hey everybody, and welcome to today's episode of CATNIP. It's great seeing y'all. Thank you very much. Now, as we do with every week, and we're just going to go ahead and introduce
Sherry.
And Sherry, and and what do you do for the Humane Society?
A little bit of everything. I'm the vice president on the board of directors, and like I said, a little bit of everything. Open hours, fostering, got my hands in everywhere.
Awesome. Now, who's this little guy, girl?
It's a boy.
Who's this little guy?
So this is Timber, and as you can see, he's shaky, and what he has is CH. Oh, baby. And that is cerebellar hypoplasia. Their cerebellum did not form properly in utero, so they are, a kitty with a disability, but he can live a perfectly normal life, just like any other kitty.
Wow. So now his cerebellum, that his brain didn't form.
So it's missing the fine motor skills.
Okay, so
this is why
now obviously he's shaken, which limits him on things like going upstairs, downstairs. He obviously can't probably climb a tree or anything like that. In the wild, just out of curiosity, how long would a cat with this disability survive, do you think?
Honestly, not long. They cannot run as fast as other cats. And as you can see, they would be probably easy prey for a animal.
For a predator.
Yeah. So not a good idea to be outside cat.
Okay. So that kind of brings us into a little bit of what we're going to be talking about today, which is cat behavior and personality. So now when the Humane Society gets a rescue or a surrender, and how long does it usually take for the volunteers to establish a personality for that cat?
Depends on the cat. Generally we get a good idea of how a cat is going to be within maybe 2 weeks. Because when they first come in, they're all scared. So they're going to use whatever defense that they feel is good for them, whether it be swatting at you, growling at you, even biting you sometimes. But, we take caution, and we haven't had too many that don't come around within a few weeks.
Personality-wise?
Yeah.
What are, just off the top of your head, what do you think are some of the most enjoyable personalities that you've seen since you've been down there? Like, give me like 1 or 2 or 3 personalities that have just been like, wow, this cat really stands out.
Oh gosh. All right. So we had Reba, who was my foster, and I use her because it was most recent, who was a little cuddler. And she would come up in your lap, and she would just sit there for hours, and you could sit there and pet her. Just a all-out, just sweet girl. Of course, me, I like the friskies. So if they are a little hissy or something like that, it's fine with me. I like them. I think they're funny. And another personality is actually seeing them come around. So if you've got a kitty that comes in all defensive, and then within a week they've turned into a whole new purry kitty.
Right.
Yeah.
So I adopted Winifred. We kind of touched on it. Yeah, Winifred.
She's cute.
She is. Now, when I first met her, she was trying to grab at me from her pen. Has she always been like that, or was she like quiet and reclusive when you first?
The first night she was quiet, which is generally what most of them are. But by the second day, or maybe even later that evening, she was reaching out trying to grab you.
Yeah.
So she's got a great personality.
And she's stayed like that ever since. So she's just an absolute joy to have.
Yeah, she's a great cat.
Great. And she's actually causing my cats to awaken up a little bit and get to play with her. And I think I've seen them in the living room more often since she's been there than before. So now, speaking of, we're going into the behavioral aspect. When you receive a surrender or a rescue, after the week or the two goes by, what would you say is a red flag for a cat that it needs to stay in foster and it can't be adopted due to a personality?
One that cowers down in a corner is a good example, and of course I can give you a cat example of that too. Harvest is my first adopted cat from the shelter. I was working the spay-neuter clinic, and Cheryl approached me telling me that there was a cat at the shelter who was very shy. And I decided I would go check her out, and I think I went on December 22nd, and on Christmas Eve I went and adopted her. She stayed in my room under my bed for months, and she was just a very shy, scared cat. So, I just used techniques to get her out from under the bed. I put her on my bed, give her a treat. You have to be consistently doing that. And she now will come up on my bed, give me loves. She's a great cat, but she won't leave my bedroom.
Right.
So, that's... being shy like that's a big red flag, and people just have to give them their time.
So a cat like that wouldn't be one, even if after she's been medically treated, wouldn't be one that you would probably adopt to just anybody.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Biggles was another example who was on the other end of it. Hessen and Swatten, and her now adopter had come in one night looking for a kitty. She was looking for one kitty. She was the only one in the home, and I showed her Biggles. And, with Biggles' little catitude, we weren't quite sure, but she came back. She came back, I think, for 7 weeks. To visit Biggles, and ended up adopting her, and now she's totally in love.
That's awesome.
Once the cats get into their homes, they generally are a whole new cat. Than what you see at the shelter. If you see a loving cat at the shelter, you're going to get more loving when you get home.
Right.
If you see a cat that's hissing at the shelter and maybe hiding a little bit, most likely when you get home and they acclimate, they will come out and, be your best friend. So.
Right. So in a situation like, for example, we've got, the abandoned ones that Lori's been taking care of, and out of that litter, there's a couple that are still, kind of, for lack of a better phrase, antisocial. Do you think once they get into their forever home that they will come out of their shell?
Seeing them yesterday, yes, they will. They were a little shy. But they weren't running and hiding on you when you approach them.
Right.
That's a big thing.
Okay.
If they didn't go trying to find some place to hide, you got a really good chance of them coming around. It's going to take a little bit longer for them because of their situation.
Right.
Can't blame them for not trusting us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now, real quick, touch on, if you can, what some early signs are, because I know I've had cats, for the most part, for most of my life, and I'm sure you've had cats. I think we talked about it a little bit. Yeah, and there are times when a cat just seems to get sick out of nowhere. All of a sudden, they're just full blown, and you take them to the vet, and they're like, "Oh, if we had caught this months ago, we would have known." So, building up to that, what would you say are some early warning signs that a cat is ill? Being around so many cats for so long as you have, and not just in your personal life, but also at the shelter, what should, owners be looking for to say, okay, there's something definitely wrong with my cat, I need to take him to the vet?
Okay, so we got to remember that cats out in the wild would hide their illness. So you're really got to be looking. But a cat that is normally a social cat who is now hiding, sign.
Okay.
Call your vet. A cat that, for instance, my Sebastian, he was standing in front of me and squatting. And, of course, having the experience at the shelter and other cats, I knew what was wrong right away. He had crystals in his urine, which, can be a very serious thing. So, again, called the vet, brought the cat to the vet.
Right.
Let's see, what else? A cat throwing up all the time. Peeing a lot, drinking a lot, anything that is out of the ordinary for your cat
Mm-hmm.
could be a issue. So definitely call your vet.
So, and I mean, some of the signs that come to me right off the bat: loss of appetite,
Absolutely.
No desire to drink, so loss of appetite, loss of drinking, change in, random changes in stool and stuff like that.
Yep, absolutely.
But that's the physical things. So
Losing weight, another thing.
Thank you for hitting up on the social aspects of it. So real quick, cat fact. So there's this doctor in Portland, Oregon, Dr. Pichelle of the Animal Behavior Clinic, who says that cats can actually suffer from complicated behavioral diagnoses, such as PTSD and redirected aggression. So, and that was something that, I found out that I didn't realize, that cats could actually suffer from kind of the same things that people suffer from. Growing up, I always knew that, if you chased a cat around with a vacuum or something like that, you can get them to be scared of said thing. And at that point, it doesn't even have to be on. They just see it and they freak out.
Yep.
So my question is, can a cat suffer from PTSD or anxiety from repeated seemingly harmless jokes? You see things on YouTube all the time. You've seen things on different variety shows where cats are put into situations where, yeah, it's a cheap laugh, and sometimes it is kind of funny. Despite ourselves, it's like, oh my God, that's horrible kind of reaction. But, can they actually be harmed, behaviorally because of those things?
My opinion, yeah. Yep. And what comes to mind when you talk about that is a video that was on YouTube with a cat that was so scared that is going, no, no, no. So they're laughing because it sounds like no.
Right.
That cat was traumatized. I actually cried rather than laughed when I saw that one, because, I see where people don't realize what they're doing to the cat. But, yeah, absolutely can traumatize a cat from different things. And like you said, the vacuum cleaner. If somebody's starting it up and chasing their cat around, that's gonna traumatize your cat.
I knew somebody who they used to play with the laser with their cat. And, eventually the cat got to the point where it's like, I'm not ever going to catch that thing, so just kind of stops chasing after it. So, they kind of, pointed it at them, not in their face, but tried to play with them with it, and they walked away. So they, over time, they, the cat actually became afraid of it because they wanted to play with the cat with the laser light, and it just didn't want to at first, but then it was like, stop chasing me with that thing, and always ran away from it, after.
Well, you always got to let the animal catch the toy you're playing with.
How does an animal catch a laser?
Well, you don't really. I've got another good one.
Oh,
my mushy. I have the app on my phone with a little laser, and he knows it.
Oh wow!
So he caught it.
Okay.
Just saying.
Wow, that's.
And he does that to the regular laser too.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, in addition to like that quick cat fact, as I was looking through some things online and doing some research, I found out some interesting old wives' tales. One of the ones that I found that only appeared once is the fact that that most people can't stare into a cat's eyes for much longer than a minute. Either the cat turns away or whatever. So the old wives' tale that goes with that is that if you can stare at into a cat's eyes for a minute or more, you can actually get all the cat's historical knowledge, through the entire bloodline. Another one is that cats can suck the life out of newborns, which is one that I was like, wow, really? So, just like a lot of things, these came from some kind of factual basis. So why do cats turn away and won't stare at people in the face for too long?
Because when you stare at a cat, you're challenging them, and they don't particularly care for it, and that's why they turn away. They don't want to challenge their owner, of course.
Well, yeah.
But, yeah, so, and as far as, staring into the eyes over a minute, blah, 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 if that was the case, we'd all know our cats quite well, wouldn't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what about the baby fact? Now, my idea was that, kids are are like super allergic to the, I don't know.
I'm not sure, where it came from. I've had 2 kids, always had cats, multiple cats, and, my kids made it through fine. I think that people get nervous when their newborn is there and the cat comes up into the crib and then lays down next to them, thinking they may suffocate them or whatnot. But there's ways, if you have a new baby, there's ways to, acclimate the cat to the baby, and, the first step would be is when baby's laying down, have the cat in another room or something, because it's not fair to the kitty.
That kind of leads me to the question of, I do know that when a woman gets pregnant, typically their obstetrician says, don't clean the cat box. I'm not exactly sure why that is.
I think the ammonia in the urine.
Okay.
Again, I have, always talk to your doctor. I'm just going by my personal experiences. Right. When I had cats, I cleaned the litter box. I just made sure I cleaned it more frequently, or have somebody else do it if, know.
Absolutely.
But, it's a high content of ammonia in their urine, so.
Sure. So, there's a couple more there's more wives' tales. I found a bunch of them. One of them is that cats always land on their feet. I think I've seen in my entire life only once when a cat didn't land on their feet. And it was, despite myself, one of the more funny things I've ever seen of a cat happen. He jumped off my counter and didn't land right, and he ended up sprawled on his side. Another one is that cats and dogs are sworn enemies. So, right? So now, do cats always land on their feet?
Most of the time. Most of the time, but not all the time.
Right. Right. And cats and dogs. I seem to remember there was this movie where the line was given, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. So cats and dogs living together,
there's always dogs who do not get along with cats, so again, when you pick out an animal, if if you're picking out a cat and you have a dog in your home, does the dog like cats? You've got to look at all the aspects. I've had a dog 90% of the time when I have a little Chihuahua. She's one of the cats, but
right.
I never had an issue. I've had a Chihuahua, I've had a Lab, I've had a Cane Corso. So it just depends on the dog. And it's a big dog.
Okay.
It's a big dog. So.
All right.
You'll have to Google that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So when you're adopting out a cat, and they say, well, we have 2 dogs, and you do the home visit, what do you look for in the dog to be able to say, yes, this dog definitely will be able to accept a cat, or I'm a little not sure about that?
Okay, so of course we talk to the owners of the dog, obviously the person adopting the cat, to find out the personality of the dog.
Right.
And again, we do a home visit, and if I went into a home and the dog tried to attack me, I might think it might not be a fit.
Right.
But yeah, we just look at the personality of the dog and, what the owner tells us about the dog. And, and then of course we have to look at our cats and, if they are a surrendered cat by an owner, we'll get that information where they're around dogs.
Right.
If it's a stray, well, it's a little tough. It's a little tough. But again, if the adoptions don't work out, they always are asked to bring the kitty back so that we can rehome them. So
right.
Yep.
So another question that I have, coming right back to the behavior aspect, another question that I have is, and this is something that is come up recently, is that why do cats go to the bathroom outside of their litter box when there is a clean litter box right there? Is there a reason for that?
It could be a medical, I'm going to just adjust here. It could be a medical reason, depending on, if they're urinating outside the box, it could possibly be a urinary tract infection.
Okay.
So if they are, going outside the box, bring them to your vet. Have them cleared of a health reason, and then if they're continuing, if they're healthy and they continue to do it, then there's many, many different things that you can try. And a lot of people don't know that there's a litter called CATNIP out there.
Okay.
So if your cat, make sure you go to the vet first to clear them the health. But it's a litter that attracts cats to it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Is it like laced with catnip or something?
It has some pheromones in it or something that attracts them to it.
Right.
Yeah, so because that's a good retraining litter. It's not a litter you want to put in there all the time. You just want to retrain them and get them back on track.
Okay.
There's, like with my Sebastian, who I said earlier, who had, squatted in front of me, he hadn't peed. So I knew there was an issue. So perfect example of getting to the vet and having it checked out, but he had crystals in his urine, so that's why he was going outside the box. And I had to retrain him to go in the box, because when he went in the box, he was saying, oh, this is a painful thing. So he didn't want to go in there anymore. So
Right.
we retrained him with the cataract, and now he is 100%.
So now, despite aside from the cataract, is there other ways to effectively litter box train a cat, whether they've been a surrender or they're a rescue because they're a feral and they just don't know how to use it? What are some of the best ways to litter box train a cat?
Okay, usually the mama does it, but if you have an issue where you need to train a cat, basically you're gonna bring them over to the box and put them in it. It's actually quite a simple thing. They know what to do.
Wow.
They know what to do. It's pretty simple. And then some cases, like say it was a feral cat that had been out all the time, and you've tried litters and the cataract, the litters. Some people have even taken the dirt from outside, put it in a box inside.
Oh, really?
And done it that way, and then slowly, take the dirt out, put more litter in. So, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So, and is that something that you want to do anytime you change the litter box? Like, say somebody is allergic to the sands, and they want to go to the pine. Is that what you would do? Is slowly integrate the new litter in?
Yep. That's the way I would do it.
Okay.
Which I have in the past done that. So.
Right. All right. Well, just like with every other time, this is you can see this obviously CCTV, Public Access Channel 8, as well as on Facebook. If you're watching it on Facebook, go on ahead and leave your comments down at the bottom. It will be monitored, and your questions will be answered. And don't forget to visit us on Twitter, Instagram. We also have a YouTube page, and that information is all going to be added, so you can check us out there. Remember to always spay and neuter your cats, whether it's a rescue, surrender, or you get it from a friend or a coworker, family member. Remember, they need to be spayed and neutered to help control the stray population. And absolutely remember that owning a cat is a lifelong commitment. Not for your life, but for the life of the cat. It's like adopting a child.
It is. Yep.
If there's a reason, for whatever the reason might be, that you can't keep them because you're pregnant, you just don't want to deal with that, or you're having a new baby, or whatever the case may be, you're moving, try to find that animal a new home. Don't just leave them out on the streets. Also remember that not all stories about cats are true. If there's something that you hear and you're just sitting to yourself thinking, wow, I never knew that, look it up. Ask your vet, go to your shelter and ask them. They'd much rather you ask a question than you just, not, make a wrong choice based off of, a story. And last but not least, just remember to pay attention to your cat. That's the best way. Mm-hmm. If they change their behavior, if they change their attitude in any way, be conscious of that. Understand that, cats do have, emotions and feelings, and they do have personalities of their own. And when that personality changes, just like we do, it means that there's something going on. Yeah. So just pay attention to your animal. And other than that, we will see you all next time on CATNIP. Bye.
Bye, Bunkin.